currently streaming live from the Birmingham 2020 headquarters, aka the Commonwealth Games HQ. And we are in collaboration for this Black History Month show. We've been here from just after 3 o'clock and we're coming to the end currently. And our next guest with us, who we're going to be talking to, I've met him a few times now as I've covered different events for the Commonwealth Games, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. Over to you.
My name's Kofi Josephs. I'm from Birmingham, I'm from Aston. 30 years old. Been playing professional basketball now for 5 years. Riding my training all over the world, probably about 7 countries. I'm a full-time model and I'm an artist too.
So how did you get into basketball, and when were you discovered for the is it the British team? British basketball team?
England national team and Great Britain. So
and Great Britain, yeah.
I started playing basketball when I was about 10, I think I was in like year 5 or year 6. I wasn't really into it, I was into everything else. I used to swim, do martial arts. I got kicked out of class one day. My mentor, he used to play basketball, he was about 6'5". He gave me a basketball, I was going to kick it over the fence, he said don't do that. And then, yeah, we just started talking about things that were going on in my life, in class, stuff like that. And he just said throw the ball at the hoop. I didn't know what to do, so I underarmed it, first shot went in. And after that, I calmed down, just kept talking every day, every playtime now, I'm hanging out with him. I'm not hanging around with certain friends and stuff. And then, yeah, my love for basketball just grew, and he just kept nurturing it, and then I just kept growing from there.
So when were you recruited for our major teams? So that's the England and the Great Britain teams.
So I got asked to be on the team when I was under 15s, but I had a bad attitude at the time, so I got kicked off the team. And my whole thing was, I'm going to get back on the team, just so they can ask me, so I can say no. Because obviously I had that little mentality, you know what I mean?
Petty moment, petty,
yeah, it was
call
petty.
it.
But then it took me, I thought it was going to take me a year. It took me 11 years to get back on the team. And by that time, I was obviously over what happened. And the opportunity to represent my country at the Commonwealth Games in Australia was crazy for me, so I went into it, played well, and I got selected as one of the first players. So, but it's crazy because right before that I was going to quit basketball. It was stressful and everything like that, but then finally getting that chance to represent my country, which I'd wanted to do my whole career, was something that I just couldn't quit on, do you know what I mean? And having that opportunity was just life-changing.
You hear that, our young ones. The bad attitude got him kicked off, then he realised what he actually lost, and it took him 11 years to get it back. But the moral of this story is he didn't give up, and he did get it back, and look where he is now. So Kofi, tell us a little bit about how people in the whole basketball world have, I don't know, interacted with you as a young black man. But basketball is predominantly seen as kind of like dominated by black athletes anyway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love basketball, honestly. I really think it's one of the best games in the world. I absolutely love basketball. So it's been more or less known as a black kind of dominated sport. Do you see much bias or racism or discrimination?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I play basketball in 7 countries now. So I played in countries like Germany, Spain, Switzerland, Sweden, Iceland. These countries, there ain't many of us, you know what I mean? And when you're there, they know exactly what you're there for. You're a black player, you're tall, you're athletic. They just want you to run, show up and dunk a lot of the time, do you know what I mean? And sometimes the reception's great, but you kind of know what they want from you. Do you know what I mean? You're obviously being in this profession, you're seen as talent, you're not really seen as a person. It's come in, do your job, and if you don't, you're firing and you bring someone else in. So you're having to face that, but knowing that you're black, even coming down to like the start of the way that they play, and stuff like that, getting racism when you go to other teams, which is quite crazy. You see in football sometimes, even your own fans, if you're not playing well or the team's losing, their energy towards you is a lot different, do you know what I mean? So having to deal with that, even though it's a black sport, it's not really, especially when you're applying your trade around Europe and like certain parts of America.
Now that you also have moved into other arenas, so you say that you are into fashion and you're a model as well, is this off the back of basketball? Did somebody come up to you and say, you could be a model, you know? Or did you think to yourself, I'm in the mirror, I could be a model, you know? Which one was it? You or them? Or both?
I ended up getting scouted, but the thing was, I don't know, I'm the type of person, if I feel like I can do something, I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really care what anyone else thinks. I'm on what I'm on, do you know what I mean? So, but with the modelling, I tried it, I love taking pictures, I love fashion, I love like the ins and outs and all that stuff. Then I ended up getting scouted and yeah, kind of went from there. But obviously it really just comes down to belief, like if you think you can do something, who's anyone else to tell you that you can't? Really, and that's the same way that I've approached basketball and the same way I've approached modelling. With basketball, I got told at 13, if I can't make the England team, how am I going to go to America? How am I going to be a professional? By one of my teachers, and I was just like, well, I guess we'll see then. And then I've gone and done it because I believed you guys don't have to. And the same with modelling. People are like, what, you're going to model? How are you going to do that? Because a lot of people don't actually know about the field you're even going into. They're just giving their opinion, which really shouldn't really mean anything anyway. But then I just kept my head down, broke down the steps of what I needed to do, and just kept doing it. But a lot of people break down the steps and then have a time limit of when they think they should get there, when the world doesn't work like that. It took me 11 years to make the Commonwealth Games. Like, people probably would have gave up, but my first jersey was in Australia. Most people probably just competed in the UK for the England team, do you know what I mean? Because I kept with it is why I got to play on probably the biggest stage outside of the Olympics. So it's the same way I just approach modelling and everything else.
How would you say resilience has featured in your journey? Especially in what other people have got to say, because you can obviously see you're an individual and you're going to do what you're going to do.
Resilience is huge because I've had 2 hip surgeries, like 2 massive ones that had me on crutches for like 4 months, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. And this happened when I was out in America at university. I'm in the pool at like 4 or 5 in the morning before classes. All that type of stuff. Stressing that I can't play, I'm probably never going to go pro because I've had not 1 massive hip surgery, but 2 in like the space of 2 years. So I did 9 months rehab, played for 2 months, broke it again, did another 9 months. So I'm just like, this dream is probably not looking likely, do you know what I mean? But that resilience that you talk about is what I got from being from Birmingham, do you know what I mean? Like, we're just nitty gritty and that's just what it's about, that's what I'm on, so I just took that with me everywhere I go.
Big up, bro. We do have some star players, don't we, everybody, in our great team. Let's move into talking about your art. I like to call it arty-farty. This is the arty-farty side of things. And I know that you have, especially down there in Winston Green in Summerfield Park, you were the one that actually designed the basketball court. I was there, I remember when it was launched. Tell us a bit about how you got into art and how did you get into designing the courts that are going to be all around our city, but the first one I think was Summerfield Park, yeah?
I've been into everything, do you know what I mean? If I think something's cool, I'm not scared to go try it. So that's how I was when I was a kid. I did I did GCSE art when I was at school, and it's funny because I love graffiti and urban art now, but back then when I tried to do it for my final piece at GCSE, my teacher kicked me out of my GCSEs because she said that graffiti and urban art isn't real art. Now I'm getting paid to do it around the world, so I'm just like, it's funny how things work, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I've always had that love, and I've never ever put that flame out on things that I love. So just because I play basketball and I do other stuff, that's something that I always wanted to like keep the flame going. And yeah, I've just been doing it for years, and then I got asked to be a part of the Commonwealth Games, and I just had a thought, an idea, and I thought because the games were coming to our city, I grew up on these same courts that literally saved my life, from living in Handsworth to having practice in Mitchells. And if you're from Birmingham, you know you can't really be catching the bus when you're like 15, 16, doing all that. So times when I should be hanging out with my friends, going to certain places, I'm on the basketball courts in the streets, I was like, I literally know what it can do to like save someone's life. Do you know what I mean? I've had friends that died, prison, all of that. And then because I've been doing that, I got a scholarship to America, and I truly believe it's because of certain basketball courts taking my time. Do you know what I mean? And then I had the idea. I spoke to someone at the games, and I said I'd love to paint some courts. That way, I get to give back to the community, still fulfill my love for art, still fulfill my love for basketball. And I know what it can literally do for the young people because they've said it to me. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to hang out on these dead courts. So yeah, I spoke to the games. They said it's a great idea. It took a whole year for it to happen, and obviously got it done. And it's been a great reception, and I'm hoping to do some more.
Finally, what would you like to leave with our listeners through the FM and our live audience in regards to the question I've kind of been putting out there around what are your thoughts around this Black History Month in the light that the Commonwealth Games are just around the corner?
I think it's key because if you look at the games, any sporting event, to be honest, a lot of the black athletes, like, we're doing our thing, do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's undeniable now, especially with like social media and people just seeing what's going on. It's undeniable. You got so many young people, like even like 7, 8-year-olds that are young and black that are killing it, so they can't run this whole, yeah, you guys are amazing when you're older, but when you're young, you're troublesome, because we're seeing that the young and they're focused, do you know what I mean, in every single age group. So I think the Commonwealth Games being on such a huge stage, like it's just under the Olympics, like it's a massive sporting event. I think it's just key for us to be on show for the positivity, because there's a lot of negatives, so especially with like young black men as well. It's mad, and it's crazy because I'm one of them, and I'm like one that's excelling, and I'm trying to fight the corner of them guys that are younger, but they don't understand, because I'm like, I was one of them, do you know what I mean? Like, we can do it, living in the flesh, but they like to separate me from them, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, we're the same. You nurture them and give them the right opportunities and stick with them, then they can be these too, but a lot of people like to give up on them young, give up on them early, and I think the Commonwealth Games is going to be huge, not just for the athletes, but also for the young people that are in the city, because we don't get to see stuff like this, do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be in Aston, Erdington, and you can go town and be hanging out, and there's Usain Bolt, there's another athlete, there's the sprinters from Jamaica, women, like, to have that kind of opportunity when like they're live in the flesh is different, do you know what I mean? And on TV, your brain always tells you, yeah, that's for them. You're gonna be there, you're gonna be walking around, you're gonna see the athletes, and I know because when I was in Commonwealth, I'm boxing around the Gold Coast, and people are like, oh my God, I saw you play last night, little kids are all inspired. I'm just gonna do the same thing for inner city Birmingham and young black kids, so I think it's fantastic, really.
Before I ask you for your final track, because that's what we're going to end on today, I just want to close our formal ceremonies here and firstly thank Abigail, Jeff and the rest of the Birmingham 2020 for enabling us to be here today, and to all of our listeners out there, and especially our young ones. Just like Kofi here, I had an idea and I brought it to a member of the organisation, and there was a yes, and then it came all the way through, and we're here today. So from both of us, we can both tell you, do not put those ideas or those dreams just to bed. If you do not ask, you will never ever know what the answer may be, and you might just get a yes. But I got one, and so did Kofi here. So remember that, everybody, do not give up on your dream.